What's going on, YouTube? It's Tom here. We're back with another video today. It's been a long time since I've done a video like this where you guys just see my face. I know normally we're over top of a tabletop, and I guess you guys see my face all the time if you watch the podcasts. But anyhow, let's get into this video. As you guys can tell by the title, I'm going to be kind of explaining what our thought process was on the last video with Brian from Transparent Knives. First and foremost, let me say that I must have really irritated Steve to bring him out of his winter hibernation. I know he wanted to make it through to the spring before he made another video, so must have really irritated him to come out and put out a video like this. Alright, so let me kind of explain our thought process behind the project and where some mistakes were made. So starting from the beginning, Brian approached me a few months back about testing some heat treat protocols that he was trying to decide what one to use for his 940 reblade project. I said yes because I like Brian. He's helped me out a ton, and I like to help him out anytime I can. At that point in time, there was no video going to be made. The sole purpose of this was just finding the best performing heat treat protocol for Brian. After thinking it through a little bit, I asked Brian if I could make a video out of it since I thought it would be interesting information and something my viewers would more than likely enjoy. And I think that ended up being true, as you guys have really enjoyed this video. It's got like over 550 views right now as of this recording in like a 4 or 5 day span, so it's awesome. Brian obviously was very okay with me making a video on it, and he was very excited for it. I didn't reveal any of the info to Brian prior to the video. We tried to keep everything pretty much secret, so no info would get leaked out until the video premiered. I tested the blades over a 2-week span or so. It took me a while just because there's 10 blades there that all need to be sharpened and then tested. I talked about the amount of time it took during the main video. So I kept all the variables I could control the same. I kept the edge angle the same, the edge finish the same, and the testing media the same. Everything else was kind of on Brian's end. The behind the edge thickness was due to Brian's grinding. The heat treat protocols were up to Brian. So I knew that we weren't getting an apples to apples comparison. That wasn't the whole point of this. I compiled all the data after I was all done and put it into a graph with increasing HRC on the x-axis. And I think this is where some people got kind of confused. Everything else being equal, the protocol, to an extent, as much as you can control it, and behind the edge thickness would show an upward trend with increasing hardness. So like, let's say if the protocol stayed the same, and like what Steve was saying, if you just tempered it down, even though that technically is a different protocol, if you change the tempering temperatures and the length of temper, technically in increasing HRC, you would see increasing performance. So that isn't really what happened with this because the protocols weren't the same. That was kind of up front from the beginning, that the protocols were not the same, and we weren't specifically testing HRC. And I said in the video that HRC is just one piece of the puzzle, but it is a very important part, however. Let's talk about blades 3 and 4 because I think that's where some people kind of got confused as well. Blades 3 and 4 were both 64.9 HRC, and there's like a 200-foot difference between the two. Now, we don't know for a fact that the microstructure played a difference between these two. However, since the HRC was the same, the angle was the same, I don't remember the behind the edge thickness off the top of my head, even though that doesn't really make a huge difference in cardboard, as Steve has shown in one of his videos a while back. However, we can infer that it was the main difference considering all the other variables were consistent. That's just something we can kind of assume at this point. Maybe there were other variables at play, but I feel like that is the main one, considering the one soak time was 3 times longer than the other, which makes the grains grow larger. You get thicker or bigger grain structure like that. Obviously, it's going to perform worse, as Steve showed in his video that he posted yesterday. So that was my main conclusion after analyzing the data, that hardness is very important, but there are other things such as microstructure that play an equally large part in edge retention. Another point of confusion was my title. The original title was HRC doesn't matter, ... kinda. That was all my fault. That was misleading and lazy on my part. I wanted a title that would grab people's attention, but I didn't really stop to think how it could affect everything. Myself, Steve, Gerald, BJ, Clinton, others have been working towards regarding HRC and performance, and I really apologize to everyone for that. I didn't change it right away when Steve contacted me because Steve's a very passionate person about many things, and that's just kind of the way that he talks, and I kind of failed to realize the consequences of it at the time. Once I was contacted by some others, I decided to change it because I realized it was going to be an issue. Something else is there are terms to use in the video that may be confusing for people who aren't in depth with this kind of stuff. I kind of assumed that most people following along at this point are educated to the extent that they understood those terms. I plan on making a future video in the coming weeks to explain those terms, but Steve kind of beat me to it with his video yesterday, and he did a great job explaining all of them. I'm going to link his video down in the description if you guys want to learn more about that kind of stuff. Also, I just want to clarify, I have no hard feelings towards Steve. He was really just trying to protect all the work that he's done up to this point, and rightfully so. I mean, that goes for everything I've done as well. I mean, Steve was in essence protecting everything that all of us edge retention testers have done. There was also talk that Brian should release his protocols to the public so they can understand the differences between them. And Brian also has a video up explaining why he doesn't want to do that at this point in time. I'm going to link that down in the description as well. We're going to kind of wrap up here pretty quick. I didn't want to go too in-depth with all this kind of stuff because Steve and Brian did a great job with their videos. I just kind of wanted to get my points out there. I was told by someone to treat my viewers like they're 5 years old, and personally, I don't like to do that. I like to think that everyone has learned a lot since last year at this time when all this kind of stuff started, but I will leave that up to you. Please let me know down in the comments, would you like me to explain things at a more basic level before getting more complex, or do you just want me to jump straight into the more complex concepts like, let's say, microstructure, like we talked about in the video? Wrapping things up here, this was the first project of its kind. There was bound to be mistakes made, and all we can do is just learn from them and make adjustments for the next one, and hopefully the next one comes out better, if that is in the plans. I would like to do that, but after all of this, I'm not sure how Brian feels about it. We will see. So I just really wanted to thank everyone for the support. I've had a lot of kind words thrown my way through all of this, and I really just want to thank all you guys. All my subscribers are awesome, and you guys always have my back. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. I really hope this kind of cleared things up and kind of got my point across of where I was coming from and what the point of that whole video was. So anyhow, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.